Hey, welcome back. We're here. It's Wednesday, every other Wednesday, which can only mean it's time for D&DDT with the one and only Tasty Boys.
Hey,
Tasty
boys.
We're joined by all the boys tonight, and that can only mean that we're reflecting on what has been happening over the last 15 episodes. So we're going to go ahead and tape what we like to call the finisher, and you'll learn more shortly as I begin the recording.
What no one realizes is that this is a trap.
It's a trap.
We're reflecting to make sure that none of us are vampires.
Shit, am I a vampire? Or this?
Not if you reflect. If you reflect, you're not a vampire. That's how it works.
I'm looking at a glass table. I can see my face. I'm good.
But what if they have a mirror that only shows the reflection of vampires?
Shit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of D&DDT with the one and only Tasty Boys.
Tasty
Boys.
Tasty Boys is an ongoing, fast casual Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition interdimensional culinary experience, and we are here every other Wednesday on twitch.tv/knownworldunited. Also, you can check out weekly episodes on every Tasty Tuesday at dnddt.com. Follow us at DNDDT Podcast on Twitter, or grab an episode wherever your episodes are procured from. We're going to be doing something we do every big arc, and sometimes for the tiny ones too. It's called the finisher. You might have noticed DNDDT is kind of a wrestling pun, as well as a Dungeons and Dragons pun. So we're going to wrap things up and talk about what the hell has happened since episode 100 to the Tasty Boys. And we're doing it a little bit different this time. Rather than going episode by episode, we're going to roll through some big topics that the boys have selected, as well as some selected by yours truly, to talk about, hey man, what's going on? So, without further ado, I'm the Beard. You can find me at Huey Beardwalks on Twitter, and you can find me here every other Wednesday with the Tasty Boys. And I'll let them introduce themselves and say a little bit something about their character.
All right, I am Nate, your D&D ringer. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Cubicle Zombie. I am playing the Bard Extraordinaire Horatio Hetfeld. And yeah, he's not super happy with the Void right now, or one Digger Doomtree.
Ooh,
So we'll see what happens.
Of course, Digger had his headphones on for that.
Yep.
What I missed?
Yeah, you'll listen back later. You'll find out.
Yeah, listen to the product.
That tracks for us. That tracks for us. Hey, I'm trying to get caught up. Yeah, eat shit. Listen to the product. No, it's my turn. I'm Warrior. I play Cletos Bagor, spelled like it sounds. Midterm up, Red Me Babyface, Ginger Doomfree, and Horatio Hetfield. Currently riding a direwolf into a forest, as one does. Yeah, I'm pretty cool with it. We share life energy now, so you know we got that going. We're gonna find out where it lives.
Now it's me. Right?
True story.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a good gimmick every time, dude. That's so good.
You know what the worst part is I genuinely am not 100% sure every time. I'm Orin Veidt, resident international Iron Man Deathmatch superstar, playing a Digga Doomtree, Tabaxi Warlock of the Void patron, attuned to Cletus Bagor, and lost, I think. I'm unsure.
Nice. Is that your Australian accent? It needs some work. Put an oi in there or something.
That'd be all back to being Australians. Anyway, hi, I'm Dan Fitzgerald, referee Dan Fitzgerald, local variety here. Playing Lom McHillface, Dwarven Barbarian, who spent the last month playing real life Jumanji in the forest and then finds his friends. What year is it? I'm back. Yay.
You've
There you
only
go.
been gone for 60 years.
It's been 3 years.
3 years long.
And that leaves me, Big Bloody Rock Leafbottom, halfling barbarian turned monk, played by Joel Vollmer at Finger Twitchings on Instagram and Twitter. And Rock is currently a little confused over the whole fight, don't fight. Probably still. But, you know, Direwolves is a little more straightforward problem. Back in his comfort zone.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
So we have a long list of things that have happened and or were happening leading up to episode 100 and beyond. So I thought maybe if we wanted to start going around the horn and someone wanted to ask a question, we could just kind of go through the topics that the boys have and hash them out. I think that there's many adversaries that you've encountered. I think there's a lot of intergroup dynamics that have been pretty interesting over the last probably 30 episodes, if not 115. And yeah, we've had some missing members and some reappearing members. So thought we'd open it up maybe to Horatio Hetfeld, spelled like it sounds.
Sure, it is.
Stealing my gimmick, Horatio.
I mean, he stole it. I didn't do it.
Everybody hide.
One question I guess I would have: what's up with Digger Doomtree in the Void and murdering Kletos? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, when are you gonna murder Kletos?
What did I do?
Yeah. When you
Wait, I mean, you haven't done it yet.
When was this discovered? Did this happen in the last set of episodes that I wasn't here for? Because I didn't get all the way through it.
No, brother, we're going all shoot right now.
Oh, wait.
We're going off cup. This is all shoot right now.
Way back when we went to the elemental plane of air, and you got stuck in the void for a bit, and the void was like, "Yo, Digger, kill Kletos Bagor."
Yeah.
Spelled like it sounds.
Oh, that was probably on like episode 100, right?
That was 101.
101.
Probably somewhere between.
Oh, the one that you guys weren't allowed to listen to.
Yep, and
Until
then
now.
and then
Yeah,
we were
listen
told
to
listen to it.
Well,
How come you haven't killed him yet?
because I love him too much, you know?
Has it-
Right after
My
June.
only attempt at murder was the void knockdown of him, and that was it. That was all I could do. And I was like,
At the Baron?
yeah, that one.
That was you.
And that was all I could do. I was like, I'm not actually going to kill this man. I'm not going to kill him. Can't kill Kletos. Even if Digger wanted to, like, I don't think he could.
I mean, that checks out.
But
No.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now with my backup character right there.
Player Battle Royale. This would wipe the floor
So-
with everybody.
I definitely have wanted to kill Elijah this whole time, like bad. I couldn't kill Kletos. I really, like, it was heavy and you had to, but I couldn't, unless I did in these episodes that I wasn't here for.
Nope.
No, still alive. Good. Well, good for Kletos. Bad for Digger.
Has it been 7 days yet?
It's been
1 week.
It has.
And I don't even know where Digger goes from here. So,
Well, spoilers. He got eaten by a tree.
did I get consumed by the tree?
A little bit.
I don't know if consume is the word, but you've been adopted.
Am I now like part of the tree? Like, are people gonna like stop by and see Digger's face like petrified into the tree?
Oh no, but that's a really cool way to write you out.
Well, it's like that one episode of Punky Brewster where they've got that cave and there's body parts sticking out of it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the one where he got trapped in the fridge. So that's better.
No, actually,
That episode was
Digger's
fucked up, by the way.
Digger's next soiree is going to be 32 parts, and it's going to be reminiscent of Trapped in the Closet. And it's going to take just as many turns as Trapped in the Closet did, with a lot of
Wait.
pulling out my gun, but it's my crossbow. So sign up for it and hang along for the ride, guys.
Horatio, do you feel like that follows with the question that you have? Any follow-ups?
No, I'm good.
Cletus, a topic or a question?
Topic or a question? Why do you want to kill Elijah? Elijah likes Digger.
Yeah, but Elijah didn't like the Void, and
That's
as
true.
a follower of the Void, I have obligations to the Void. I was
Yeah,
not.
like
I
a
was
lot of
not
people don't.
nearly as. Elijah didn't hold the place in my heart that Cletos did. Like if I had to share a honeymoon suite with Elijah, I'd be like, I'll sleep on the futon, type of deal, or be like, okay, but like we got to put the pillows between us. Like if I'm really
Sure.
just tired and want to bed.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like it was implanted in Digger's brain that like when he didn't like the Void, it was like, well, I got to kill this man because he can't find out the truth. I don't know what the truth even is though. That's the issue.
You don't even know what the truth is. Like, that's good.
Look, he can't tell me everything because then he would never be able to sever ties with me. I can't be super omnipotent, although I feel like I am.
I love that statement because it both makes absolute sense to me for Digger and makes absolutely no sense to me for Digger. What do you I'm curious like what you feel is the relationship of Digger to everybody at this point then.
Me?
Yeah. Like
Oof.
you as a person, you as Orin Vite, Deathmatch Superstar, Iron Man.
International Iron Man Deathmatch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
feel
abbreviated. It's implied.
I feel like
Intermatchal Death Iron.
I feel like I've done a good enough job of not actually killing my compatriots or like failing to kill my compatriots that the Void has insisted I attempt to kill, while still riding that fence perfectly. So I feel like I've endeared myself enough to them, saving the day when it comes down to it, or like when it really comes down to it. More times than not, you can count on me to not attempt to kill you and actually do my part.
As long as
Like,
you're
would
not
put-
finding a bunch of city guards, right?
then I'm not going to help you. But like more times than not, when push comes to shove, you can count on Digger. But I don't know. I feel like a Siamese with the, the way I go about things is enough to have people like, yeah, he's fine to keep around. We don't hate him. We get why he did what he did or does what he does, right? He's not a bad. Just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy.
I'm interested in a show of hands. How many people feel that you can count on Digger not to kill you in character? How many characters go, you know what? I think that I could count on Digger not to kill me.
think that
Digger and I have been trying to kill each other since episode 3.
That's true story.
it's basically the only through line we
Yeah, I think with Rock it would be more like I don't think he could kill me.
I'm not hardy. I'm not a tank, that's for sure.
So it's kind of the same idea.
I don't think Kletos thinks that Digger would try to kill him.
No, I was supposed to try to kill him and I didn't.
Well, you did try.
Well, really, really poorly.
Didn't, couldn't.
I was like, there's no way I'm going to kill him.
It was like the dimension door halfway to the surface of the ocean of murder attempts.
Where I was like, oh shit.
You're like, I'm going to leave him behind, but in case he survives, I'll make it look like I didn't abandon him by as large of a distance, which was great.
Did.
And then he had to save you, which was fun.
That's a mega callback. That was the first Extra Life, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It was just after it.
Yeah, it was right after because I had to miss it from
yeah.
the stupid
work.
Yeah.
He had the 2D sweats.
Yeah.
Which we turned out to be milk sweats.
Milk sweats, yeah.
Oh, is that canon now? Milk sweats? Not
it's been canon since episode.
Since Scratchy Salad Finger Man.
Okay.
That I didn't kill. See? Another person I didn't kill. Wasn't me. Digger's head count, 0.
That is still my favorite thing. You're like, I went on this guy's boat and he was on his own boat. So I killed him.
Look, man, he knows what he did. He knows what he did.
Hold on. I have a serious question. Oren, if left to your own devices, how many of the NPCs in the past, percentage-wise, would you have murdered, given the chance?
Most.
He's
Not
honest.
less. I tried. And then, so I tried to kill him again, failed. And then after that, bam, best friends for life. Most other people,
yes, attempted murder means best friends.
Less is hard to kill, man.
if left to my own devices, and I have the free time, of course I'm gonna do a little murder. Who doesn't? Like, what good adventuring party member doesn't just,
All right. So to tack onto that, why? Is it like a Digger thing? Is it like the Void wants you to murder everybody?
Void thing. I think it's a Void thing, and that
you should know.
That could be. That's why I do it. If they don't instantly accept that the Void is a thing, I'm like, well, sorry, you can't exist. That's unfortunate. The only person that's been allowed to like skate by on that one is Kletos. But that was with a lot of the Void being like, yo, WTF, like ROTFL. And I'm like, look, man, you just got to give it time. It's like that friend that you're like, I swear he's cool. You gotta meet him. You just gotta hang out with him for a while. That was me and the Void. Or the Void and I was like, look, man, he's cool. I swear, you just got to give it time. No, he's not cool. He must die. Like, no, I shouldn't have to kill him. I swear, he's good for it, man. He's good. No, you got to kill him. Well, okay, let me half-ass attempt to kill him because I refuse to kill him. But everybody else, if they don't instantly like conform to my beliefs, they must die.
Man, you didn't kill that little girl from the marina, did you?
Yeah, she ran away.
And he's trying to recruit her.
Yeah. I feel like with a couple more gifts, she would have been on board.
No, she would not.
Hey, I got you this one-man band costume.
Philanthropy is a real game changer if done correctly.
You're right about that. So, Oren, what do you want to talk about?
Me?
Yeah.
What's your question? What's your, I want to kill everyone?
Topic? Is that a real question? I would like everybody to genuinely go around and tell me why they think that Digger is trying to kill them.
Okay.
May I start?
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's just because we're just screwing with each other in like the first session, but Warren and I in character have been doing a back and forth with just little pokes and prods, and it escalated ever since the chopping of the tail incident happened. So I think it's going to end with, I think this entire series is going to end with either myself getting killed by Orin or I killing Orin. It's going to be one of those two. One of us is going to die at the end of this. But I think it's just a pure escalation of where we're
and
going.
Digger. Let's maybe not have you guys murder each other in real life.
Or
I don't know.
Digger will chop Lom's butt off, and then you'll be even.
Full circle.
I feel like
Horatio?
that's funny because, like, I feel like Lom is the only one who Digger hasn't actually tried to murder.
That's true because he's tried to murder me on.
He's
He
never
hasn't tried to murder me
Lom.
recently.
He's never tried to murder you. When did he try to murder you? Ever?
Directly or indirectly?
Directly.
I mean, he tried to kill them when the dragonfly came through, when we were in the plane of elemental air.
He tried to destroy the dragonfly.
Yeah, totally different thing.
It's a little different.
Collateral damage is a thing, okay? It's not on me. I can't take stock of what's going on. I have a one-track mind, okay?
Okay. Horatio, why do you think Digger is trying to kill you?
I mean, why do I know he's trying to kill me? Because he's done it.
Has he?
Has he? Yeah. I mean, when Lam set fire to that bar, we were on the beach, and he was counterspelling everything and doing damage.
To kick all those bear traps out of the way.
Yeah.
Look, to be fair, I've yet to like shoot a finger of death at one of you guys or like really try.
That's
to,
categorically untrue.
Is
You
it?
shot a finger of death at Cletos, you asshole.
Yeah, but I missed him.
You didn't miss him. You fucking hit him.
Yeah, but he didn't die.
That doesn't mean that you didn't try to kill him.
No, I knew he was hardy enough.
Tanked that shit.
Yeah,
So was that
goddamn right.
then? Without the death? Just fingered
Just
him?
giving him the finger.
Just the finger. Hey, shit.
Oh no.
I forget this does things. Sorry.
Son of a bitch, I hit him.
I really should have thought that through when I set it up. Okay, well, I haven't mental prisoned anybody yet in our team.
True.
I like how he says yet.
Oh shit, yeah. It's just innate. Like I don't even have to think about this anymore. It's just like, it's who I am. It defines who I am as a man.
Yeah. Well, it's good you didn't try that one because Cletos could just stop being in a mental prison at will. So.
Yeah. See. So. God, fuck! I probably should have picked that one. My attunement should have told me that like this is the best way that he can avoid this, but it looks like I'm doing. God damn it! You lose some, you lose some.
There's still time. Don't give up on it yet.
Is there? Joel, do you feel like even if he couldn't do it, do you feel like Digger's trying to kill you?
No, I've never gotten that impression. I feel like from Rock's perspective, it's more of all the things I don't understand, I really don't understand Digger. Like, he initiates the fight with the guards so that we can escape, but then dimension doors away, which to Rock is like the safest place you could be is next to me or behind me, probably behind me, unless I'm using the Wanzuka, in which case probably beside me.
Yeah.
Or just not in the area.
Yeah.
If you have that thing, just leave.
But if it's us against a bunch of town guards,
and like, they're not aiming high.
Yeah, your safest place is right here. So for him to ditch and run is weird. Like, that doesn't make much sense. The attacking the boat and attacking the tree, I did not understand what precipitated either of those. But at no point, I don't think at any point Rock has been like, why is this dude trying to kill me? It's more like, I do not understand why he's doing any of the things that he's doing, but he's just kind of a weirdo, and that's okay. We're all kind of weird.
Which, to be fair, anybody that has seen a cat exist can feel that way about said cat. They're like, they're doing this thing, and I'm not quite sure why, but they're doing it, and I've accepted that this is what they do.
I think it depends on the cat. If I knew a cat for 115 episodes, if he was still doing things that I didn't understand completely, I would probably be like, what the fuck's up with this cat?
Well, luckily for Rock, he's only known me for less than that.
That's true.
That's true.
That is true.
Yeah, still relatively new.
Yep.
Dan, do you have a question or a topic you'd like to broach?
Yeah, this is more for beer and things like that. Mainly just with the dragonfly. What the hell, man?
I mean, what the hell?
What? You destroyed the dragonfly.
Dragonfly's
destroyed.
destroyed.
We saved it, but what the hell?
It's just, I mean, here, I'll be completely frank. You've been talking about that goddamn tattoo for 100 fucking episodes. And I was reasoning through it, and I was talking about it, and someone said, Dan hasn't had the opportunity to further that. Yeah, you had some opportunity during the kind of Ghost Carnival, but that's one of the things that Lom as a character has consistently referenced over and over and over again. And he's never had the opportunity to explore it, and there hasn't been any character development with it. And unless we literally go and find the dragonfly, which we opted as a group not to do, if you remember, we could have gone south rather than coming to New Kings Bay. And as a group, the decision was made not to go to the dragonfly. And so it came up that, unless Dan gets that opportunity that everybody else has had to explore some part of his backstory, then it's going to be hard for Lom to grow as a character. And I think that Lom had a lot of character growth after kind of realizing what he'd done with his fast casual arson. And so I wanted something that could be a hook for you. It happened to happen at a very poor time considering your kind of change in kind of life
I'm
in
not in the
general.
closet anymore,
Yeah.
obviously.
I mean, I think that it happened at a weird time, and I think that I had planned for some more of that to play out, but with you needing to take a step away to kind of address the other things, it just kind of didn't happen. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that you still got some of that, which is why I went with the kind of search for your father backstory, because I felt like if you weren't going to get the opportunity to interact with the dragonfly, or you weren't going to get the opportunity to interact with some of the characters from the flashback sequences during the post Ghost Carnival, where Joel and Brian were together, and Nate and Orrin were together, I felt like Lom deserved to have some character development through some of his backstory, because I felt like Horatio had that when we revisited the Void. I felt like Digger had that with everything that's been going on since episode 100. I feel like that Cletos and Rock have had a really interesting relationship basically ever since that time in the plane of elemental air. and it's grown to, like, I think for all four of the other characters, been a chance for them to explore their characters some more. And I felt like Lom hadn't had that in a while. And it took somebody else really kind of noting that for me to go, I need the dragonfly to show up somehow, and we'll see what happens. And unfortunately, what happened was we needed to kind of make some changes on the fly. Um, and so, you know, everyone reacted as everyone reacted, and it isn't blown out. Um, but as we noted in kind of the backstory of what happened in the interim from when you got whisked away, um, the kind of leadership for the dragonfly has been disappearing. And so um, the elders of your clan found out that your father was alive, and he's the one with the connections to those people. So that was, Lom's wild adventure in lieu of some dragonfly antics that probably would have happened kind of after those episodes. So that's what the hell, man. I hope that get some clarification, maybe for everybody too, because I think it's really hard to balance as a DM 5 backstories and 5 opportunities for character growth, because I know that all 5 of you are pretty generous with not kind of stepping up and over one another, but sometimes that also creates a bit of a, I won't say void, but an absence of kind of where the story goes next. Um, and in those absences, sometimes I think certain characters kind of fall to the wayside in terms of character growth, and they just kind of act as characters, in that moment, which is usually combat or other things like that. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know what do you guys think of that? I mean, was it surprising to have this thing show up after it not really being a thing? How was that plane of elemental air time? I know it's been talked about off of the air, but I don't know if you're interested in sharing your thoughts.
I do agree that we're all pretty good about, like, hey, like, I'm not going to be the one that's like, hey, focus on my story. Like, I feel like sometimes Digger will get like carried away in the shit he's doing, so that's why, like, I try to be like, hey, like when we saw the tower, like, oh, Digger just goes to his lab and does his thing, like, because I'm like, if I really wanted to, I'm sure I could find something to do that's just completely asinine and ridiculous for that time being, but I'm like, there's other stuff that could be happening, like, so
Mhm.
this makes more sense right now. um I think we all do a really really good job of that, but then, like, it's also like there's been times where, like, Digger, it feels like Digger has a whole episode, and I'm like, oh god, I feel like I'm taking this whole episode to do this thing. And so then I'm like, oh well, that's shitty. Like, I would other people to do stuff too, but I've gotten myself into such a fucking thing now that here we are. And now, 45 minutes later, Digger's still trying to not commit this B&E, but commit this B&E. And, you know, but yeah, I definitely see how that can be like detrimental and beneficial at the same time, where like it lets you be like, okay, we're gonna add this to this person's story, or we're gonna change this for this right now because this is what feels like is needed. So I've dug that.
How about other folks? Thoughts?
Yeah, I think anytime, I think with D&D and games of this nature, anytime something's happening that is moving narrative is, I think, pretty much always a positive. So I don't, I think when a character is getting more attention. I don't think that's a bad thing if it's moving the narrative. Like, that's good. Uh, Things pop up out of people's past. It's moving the narrative. That's good. So I'm fine with it. Like, this just means good gameplay.
Maybe a follow up or a supplement. If anybody else wants to weigh in, I'm super interested. You know, fifth edition has been talked about as being built for parties of 4, and I think that we've been a party of 3, we've been a party of 6, and everything in between. Do you think that there's something to that? Like, is there some magic number for groups you've played in, or do you think it really has to do with personalities and balance and maybe something else to consider? Do you think that there's a different dynamic now that we're streaming as opposed to when we were online but not streaming, or when we were in person? Do you think that there's been different levels of kind of passiveness or engagement, based on the setting or the number of folks in the party at any given time?
I think it's, and I think for everybody, just in general, in this new world, it's hard. Because when we're all sitting at Nate's table, or we're all, wherever we are, it's way easier to all like just go off of each other and be able to read each other and kind of let everything flow, as opposed to like it it is kind of tough. Like, and for like somebody like me, like I'm so ADHD that like being able to focus in is hard for me. Like being able to focus in on a screen of 6 boxes is way harder to like stay engaged in and like stay super hooked into, as opposed to like all of us sitting around a table. Like it it's been working, and I think with us and the way that we all get along, it's really helped. I don't think I could go in cold and do this with a group of just random people, or like people that I'm not super comfortable with. But like with you guys, it's far easier. But yeah, I think definitely online it's tougher, because you're like, oh, I don't want to take up all this time, or like I don't know when I should jump in, because it's way harder to just jump in here.
Yeah. Are you gonna are you gonna go? Are you
Should I? No. Oh,
are Nate? Were you gonna? I didn't know if you were done or not yet. Are you okay? Like, I think that part is a legit. Uh, it it changes the dynamic of the game. I think the flip of it, though, is that this past year and a half, without something like Zoom to make this happen, would have been a really shit year. I mean, it was a really shit year. Uh, but I think without this, it would have been like exponentially worse to get through. I would also wind back to the first part of your question, which was, does the number of people matter, or the version of the game? And I don't think it does. Um, I think it comes down more to, how do the people in your group get along and interact with each other? How is the DM running things? And I think if those things are clicking, you end up with a good dynamic and a fun game and a lot of fun interactions. And if there are people in the group that don't get along, and I've been in groups where there are people who did not get along, uh, and it's catastrophic. It's really horrible, because it's just two people who are pissed off at each other, having their fight in an imaginary setting nonstop. And those are usually groups that do not last very long, because everybody's like, this isn't really fun. Oh, I know we do this every Tuesday, but I just had a thing come up on Tuesdays. You guys have fun with the game, though. Maybe I can jump back in at a later time. I think it's that kind of a dynamic. So I've never felt like this group, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 or whatever it is, I don't think it's ever been like I've never felt it to be an issue.
Lom or Cletus, or Ryan or Dan.
I don't think that. I mean, when you're talking like below 7 or 8, I don't think it makes a big difference. Combat gets a little bit longer, but it's really it's a group dynamic question. And when you run into issues like people don't have enough stuff to do, or they're getting overshadowed, or someone's taking too much of the spotlight, or things are taking too long because people are in different places or whatever. I mean, that's more of a group dynamic thing. That's, for us, it's not that there's too many or too few of us. It's that we rarely do anything as a group. So things take longer because there's like 3 or 4 narratives going on at any given time. And then we don't really interact with each other. And so like it becomes difficult to like keep track of like what you know and what you don't know. And it becomes difficult to kind of know like, well, how do our characters feel about each other, because we rarely ever converse with, certain characters almost never talk to each other, over the course of 10 episodes, you might have like 5 episodes where 2 characters never talk to each other. And that's, I think, where the challenges lie. I don't think it's a number issue. I mean, we've had like 6 at one point, 7, and it's fine. Like it's when you're a group and you're having a good time and you're doing things, it's fine. When it's very fragmented, I think that's when it gets messy.
So we need to stop splitting the party.
That's never gonna happen. This is too much fun to watch Beard's brain explode when we do that time.
Well, I think we just.
Here's a serious question.
Well,
do you enjoy torturing me?
Well, no. I mean, I don't think it's a splitting the party question. I think it's we're not a team question. Like the boys are not a team. Half the boys hate each other, and or are actively trying to kill each other, and are actively trying to sabotage each other. And it's not just one.
I have tried to make the effort to get away from this, okay? So I don't have to play to the void game.
But I mean, like, there isn't like a team dynamic. There isn't a team. Like sometimes we're around each other at the same time, and that's kind of like in its current state. Like that's kind of where the boys are. Like we're loosely affiliated under a interdimensional fast casual franchise.
Yeah, we're like really good work friends right now. We're not like family or super good friends. We're like it's like if you see them show up at work and you're like, yes, that's my favorite coworker. You know what I mean? That's where the level we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if we weren't all working for the same employer, why would almost any of us travel together? In its current state, I don't know why, like the 5 of us specifically would.
What do you think would correct that? Or let me make it 2 parts. Do you think that it should change to where we behave more as a team? And if so, what do you think it would take to get the boys to be, a solid team?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what it would take. I mean, sometimes it feels like, oh, well, if we had like a big bad that we were up against the wall fighting against, that would make us all gel together and band together a team. But nope. And so it's kind of like, I don't know what it would take. I mean, like common goals are good, common things we're striving for, those kinds of things, make groups great. And I think it's less of like a plot device You know, because even when we were literally like running for our lives, there were like 3 groups of us the whole time. And none of and like I think what it would take is I think it would take all 5 of us wanting to be a team.
Okay.
Is what I think it would take.
Well, so we'll find out. Kletos is one of the shards, allegedly, according to the tree, right? So are the rest of us, because that could be something if we need to come together to save whatever. Maybe that'll do it.
Well, because that was part of what went into my choice to not actually kill Kletos was I'm like, oh, I can detach from the void, and then the kind of the situation that I got myself into where I was like, well, I have to if I want to keep these powers, I got to keep the void happy, so I have to keep pseudo trying to kill my friends or anybody that doesn't agree with the void. And I'm like, well, then that's just that's all I'm doing. So the the ability to then allow Digger to detach and then figure out whatever the hell that means for Digger going forward.
Mm-hmm.
But that then allows me to detach from constantly driving a stake in everything and being like, okay, I can go back to being part of the team now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just Kletos and I, it's it's me and everybody, as opposed to oh well, I've dug myself this character plot that I believe Digger wouldn't find his way out of, and now it's like, oh, what's the one thing he wouldn't do? He wouldn't actually kill Kletos. He wouldn't do that. There's no scenario in which there would be a genuine attempt to kill him. So I was like, okay, good. Then I can feign attempts at killing him and be like, okay, I failed. Oh well. And hope that that break is cleaner than losing everything, but there's still a break. So that way I can be a more team based person instead of more patron based, which I think is what Digger's played to. Digger's played to his patron, not his team, which might just be a warlock thing, but now I can detach from that and figure myself out, whether that's alone or within the constructs of the team.
Have you / Digger ever considered just talking to the group and being like, look, the Void wants me to kill Kletos. I don't want to kill Kletos. I don't know what to do. Does anybody have ideas? Not you, I don't need.
I like that you're still in character.
Excuse you.
But
I'm trying to keep it it would be
but the thing with the Void for me is he's forever omnipotent. So no matter what I do, he will hear and see and know everything. So I have to feign attempts, or I have to feign, this stuff to try to keep this going. Because if I don't, he's like, hey, what the fuck, man? Why are you not doing this? I'm like, oh, but I am. No, you're not. It's like, oh, well. So if I put that out in the world.
You don't think the Void knows you're not trying to kill Kletos?
There's been a time.
I mean, he does now.
Does he listen to the
hence
product?
He
the deadline.
does. He does.
He's figured it out.
He'd know if I talk to everybody about it, but he cannot see past my ineffectual fake attempts.
Look, man, I'm convincing. I am a method actor, just the same as Rock is. Okay, I have to believe my own stink.
All right, I'm just curious.
But that genuinely, I was talking with James about it when he's like, what do we want to consider going forward, knowing that this could be a huge change. And I was like, more than likely will not be killing Kletos. I don't know what that means, but I'd like to struggle to figure that out and allow that break to happen. Especially knowing that having a murder hobo in a party sucks as it is, but then when that murder hobo is killing your own party, that can't be easy. So that I can finally detach from that character aspect of Digger, and now I can go towards something else that's a little bit less chaotic and a little bit more goal oriented, that isn't just his patron being the only goal. There allows for some more growth, I think, just in the group in general.
I would say I would settle for keeping chaotic so long as it wasn't chaotic evil anymore. Oh, I mean chaotic neutral.
It's all or nothing, baby. It's either chaotic evil or lawful good. Okay, there's no.
A lawful good, dude. Okay, so here's the question. I'm gonna say this. I've given Oren a number of outs in game while speaking to him as the Void and others. Were you tempted by any of those at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
there was
I'd get to the end of a
times.
session and we'd talk. Oren and I would talk ahead of some of these sessions, like, "Hey man, I know this is going to be a big change. Like he said, this is going to be really different for Digger as a character. Here's some options. I might float some of them during the session." And we get to the end of the session, and I would be like, "Motherfucker didn't pick a single fucking option. Those were good options."
Well, Digger would absolutely just let the clock run out, the same as I would, the same as I as a person. Every relationship I've ever had, I just let the clock run out, brother. And once that clock runs out, I'm clear. That Digger's the same way. If I don't have to make a choice. If it just ends, it's look, man, it's not me, it's you. You did this, not me. I was doing everything I could. So Digger's oh, the clock ran out and I lost my power. Oh no. But I didn't leave.
Yeah.
The Void can't come back to me and be like, remember when you left me? I didn't leave you. What do you mean? That's not on me. You can't put that heat on me.
I can't wait until the Void comes back to you and be like, "Oh, please take me back, Digger."
I just want to put out that the idea that Digger, once that bond is severed, just becomes a fighter and gets some resistance bands and is constantly doing resistance band workouts everywhere we go, trying to get swole.
I'm into it. Bear traps his ankle weights, jogging around.
It's just a montage at least every other episode.
Dude, and
Oren just has to narrate what is Digger doing for his montage.
My strength goes from 6 to 7, and the crowd goes wild. And then 50 episodes later, I get up to 8.
We can write you an inspirational montage song called "Boy of the Tiger."
Yes, Boy of the Tiger.
Oh. I mean, if you want to go another route and get religion, I know a guy.
Do you want to talk about that, Digger?
So that's the cool part, is I'm now essentially left classless. So
yeah,
right
at
now
14th level, which is
I'm just
pretty interesting.
I'm a 14th level cat. That's all I am, which granted is powerful in and of itself. But I still have to make the choice as to what route do I go, and how do we do that? Because I talked to James. I'm like, well, if I were to be a wizard, I am not statistically set to be a wizard at all. I'm statistically set to be a bard, if anything else, and Digger wouldn't be a bard. So I'm like, what do I do?
Like, you talk about the ideal party, you think 2 bards, 2 barbarians, and whatever, it doesn't even matter because you're set.
That's like the meme with Planet of the Apes, where it's like when you roll a party with no casters, and it's got whoever the head of the apes was, is like apes together strong.
Because like I've always played a caster, and because that's just my favorite thing to do. I've loved it, and like Digger has a reason to stay arcane, but I don't know. Like I've also, while I've been arcane, been like prone to using weapons that I can't use. Like, do I become a fighter? Like, do I like? I'm not gonna become a monk because we already have 2 monks. Well, a monk and a quarter.
Monk and a half.
Like
2.5 monks.
Yeah.
We're changing the title of the game from Tasty Boys to 2.5 monks.
But then Digger has to be a monk.
Oh my god, no.
So like I really like have to look into what I want Digger to be and how we're going to be that way, because he wouldn't just be able to jump straight into becoming a 14th level wizard. Like what?
No, but he could be a 1st level wizard and a 13 level
cat.
Warlock.
Yeah, but
did you say useless warlock?
Yeah, I just have a specific question about that, though.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, could someone play like at 14th level while he's deciding without a class, just have the basic stats without everything else, and just play it through while he's deciding? Because I think that would be the most just Digger thing as it is. It's just like he's just sitting there without powers the entire time and can't really do anything else.
So if we're talking meta, that was what James and I talked about, is like Digger would be powerless, but like hiding it from everybody is like, oh, dude, I'm fine. What are you talking about?
Like he would hoard scrolls and like use them to pretend he has magic. We talked about a lot of options.
Didn't you see the Eldritch Blast? I totally shot Eldritch Blast. You didn't see it? Oh, that's weird.
Blasted the hell out of him.
Hard to believe you've whiffed 343 counter spells in a row. That is just real bad luck.
Dude, I'm trying.
It's real bad luck.
Rolling
You're gonna
so
get the next
bad.
one.
Every time I cast, somebody's counterspelling it. I don't know where they are, but they're getting me every time, dude.
Every time.
It's like all these scrub wizards are casted at 9th level. I can't counterspell.
He's just out there yelling counterspell.
That would be amazing.
It's just, hey, stop!
Counterspell.
Quit it! Oh, sorry.
He invests heavily in pyrotechnics just for the look.
But yeah, you can play that. You don't get any of the class benefits. You do get your stat improvement or feats that you had previously. Whether they are relevant or not is totally different. But we talked also about the dynamic that we worked with Horatio when he was dabbling in voidy things and had some warlock levels, and then divested himself of the darkness within with the help of Torm. So yeah, I think that the dynamic is really interesting in that, similar to what Joel's chosen with Rock to multi-class, but also then to work together, with me to figure out whether that means that he kind of lets go of some of his barbarianness to replace it with monk, because I feel like warlock and bard, if he's a bard of Torm versus a warlock of the void, that as you divest yourself of that, or kind of cleanse yourself of that, you could transition your character levels at the same time, because that's how I envision character levels, right? You become more proficient as a wizard, so you move up a level, or you decide to multi-class, so you get to learn a little bit about another class's skills, and sometimes you gain a boost. That's the whole point. But yeah, I like to think of that with the same role playing potential. So I think that there's a lot out there for Digger to dig into.
Well, and he could also find some sort of instrument or implement to become a sorcerer too, because that would fit in with his skill set.
That's true.
Yeah, if only he'd been studying a big secret book of magic for the last 60 episodes.
Do sorcerers cast with charisma?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I
Like,
didn't know that.
Back when I had the lightning bottle still and I was thinking of multi-classing, because I had the stats to go into sorcerer, I had the joke idea to become a storm sorcerer by pure accident. So, hey, let's see what happens if I drink one of the lightning bottles or something and then, gain lightning powers. But that was shot down very, very quickly, and made more sense to go with my backstory to go with rogue, which, in all fairness, it's probably the correct choice, but been like, guys, check this out, lightning powers, ha ha! And then everyone just goes, oh god, no.
I think you could make the argument that having been a warlock for 14 levels has caused a residual pool of chaos magic, which allows you to segue into the sorcerer realm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because theirs is all innate. It's in them, right?
Yep.
That's their gimmick. Warlocks
Yeah,
get it from somebody. Clerics get it from
Wizard learn
God.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
Wizards
you always.
read a book.
Yeah, maybe you always had it, and the void subdued
Just
it.
boosting it.
Look, the real chaos sorcerer was the friends we made along the way.
True.
So
that's why I'm taking 4 levels in monk, 4 levels in bard, 4 levels in barbarian, and 4 levels in rogue.
Yep.
A little something from each of my friends. That's
2 in ranger. Just
be hilarious. God. Oh no.
Look, ranger's my second favorite class, so maybe I just jump over to ranger. Fuck it.
Right?
Yeah.
Look, man.
We'll just change your name to Strider.
Ooh.
Or Striger. Stridger.
I'm just gonna become the super adventuring party member where you take a level in each, or 2 levels in each, so that way you get their little add-on. But I'm not proficient or great at anything. I'm just a little bit hey Digger, could you help us with this terrain? Yeah, I could do that. But could you find a path through it? No. But I can tell you that this is icy, so watch out.
You could be the first plate run at a buffet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, where you just get a little bit of everything, and then you're like, okay, this is what I want more of. I want more of the rolls with the sugar on them because I don't, value my health.
Only one level of fighter. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Taste right.
Yeah, just enough to action surge. That's all I need. And then if I can action surge, rage, cast Eldritch Blast, and then heal somebody, and use key, I'm set. What else do you need from Digger? Okay, just a little bit of everything. I've given you anyway.
The Tasty Boys sampler platter.
Yeah.
Sampler platter.
We just trot Digger out, and you're like, "This is what you get when you deal with the Tasty Boys." We got people that are a lot better at it, though. This is just the example. I'm like the
we send you out to do demos.
Yep.
Yeah. You're like our mood board.
Yep.
You're like the beer truck girls. Go around and give samples out.
Yep, so that's all I am. I'm
kind of hurt. Can you lay on hands? I can lay on one hand.
Yep.
Yeah. I got 2 paws. That's it.
That's all you're getting. How you feel? 4 points better? You're welcome. Now you can have that and more if you come join us.
don't even want to know how many pages that character sheet would be if you printed it off.
That'd be amazing.
That would just kill a tree right there. That's the whole
Maybe
stump
maybe
by
that's
itself.
Digger's calling. I don't know.
And Digger's always got one chicken wing for no apparent reason.
Always
Well,
ready to go.
So out of curiosity, what are you interested in playing? You put stats aside, you put whatever aside, like what are you interested in playing? Like it's so much, for me at least, it's so much easier to like figure out what I want to do and then back into how to make that work. So like what do you want to do? What do you want to play, you know?
The thing that makes the most sense is Wizard.
Wizard makes complete sense, yeah.
Because one, like I think that's my favorite class to play as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've really just enjoyed doing like being a wizard and like looking at the list of like schools of magic that you can be in and like really figuring out which one I want to be. Like I love being a divination wizard and like Domains of Dread. I thought that was super cool. And so I think with like the Mad Mage like tear that Digger's gone on and like the knowledge that he's gained, like it makes complete sense to go into Wizard.
Totally.
And if only he still had that book.
Oh wait, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Where's all your stuff?
That's what I was saying.
Wait,
where's all your stuff, Digger?
Where is it?
You never
found
it.
Got it back.
Ah!
An idea that popped in my head.
But the book, he doesn't carry the book around with him. It's like 50 pounds. The Mad Mage book isn't.
That's
the Mad
not
Mage
what
book,
he said.
Is it?
He said that he kept it in his bag.
Oh, okay. I figured it was packed up in our micro machines.
Yeah, because you guys made me pack up the whole gimmick and the.
Because like he couldn't even carry the book.
Yeah, but he's got the bag of holding.
Okay. I don't know.
I just assumed that Digger would not let that thing out of his sight.
No, but I had my own micro world, did I not?
I mean, everybody had their room that they packed up. I just assumed that Digger does not leave that behind.
No,
but
I mean,
we can talk
not
about
in
it.
theory,
unless he's running away from a bunch of city guards.
And he leaves everybody behind and everything.
Look, when faced with a choice, you have to make one.
Look, the Void would have wanted him to abandon you, Joel.
No, but I really think that like Wizard is the like sensical route and the route that like I could really look into and be like, ooh, I think playing this school of magic Wizard would be really fun and be really interesting. But I've never looked into Sorcerer. So like looking into that and seeing, what that might entail, that might be like, oh, that looks really fun. And I also like I've been really tempted to just become a fighter. And I've messed around with it this whole time. Why don't I just become some like weapons master fighter?
Battle master fighter.
And just be that guy and be like, look, guys, I told you I could do it. There
are fighters that use magic.
Boy, fuck around and find out.
Yeah, that's Digger, 1,000%.
And you could use finesse weapons, dex score instead.
I wouldn't.
He still used the two-handed broad axe that's just bigger than his head.
Yeah,
just swinging the thing.
I'm not saying I would optimize it because I it's just not who I am, but I would do it.
In combat, Rock will run over and place the axe into striking position
just for me to let it drop. Yeah, guide it down.
Yeah, I just assume it would be like Rock and Lom just helping him use bigger weapons every now and then. Just like, nope, push up a little bit, down a little bit, to this side or that side.
Learning leverage. That's all it is.
Yeah,
that's what I tell the kids at camp. It's just leverage, man.
Can you add not optimal to your your or invite intro.
Oh, easy. Yeah. Not non-optimized.
Yeah, not non-optimized international deathmatch superstar, Iron Man superstar.
Yep. Thank you. Never forget. I didn't do those 60 minutes for nothing.
So there's a list that we have, and there's a number of things that we haven't touched on that I think would be interesting. But Joel, you kind of informally asked a question, but do you want your formal question and or topic turn? I feel like
There's room for it.
Yeah.
Sure. So I guess my big question would be with the Baron, because there has been a lot of what has transpired that revolves around the Baron.
Yes.
Does he realize, because there is a lot of blame in this, and the thing that I keep coming back to is by the time the request was made to us, it seems like it was already too late to rescue his daughter. She was gone, right? She was well dead before we ever got there. Is that a thing that he realizes, and this is just displaced anger, or does he believe that there was some scenario in which we could have gotten there soon enough to save her? Or am I mistaken in thinking that we weren't, that was never going to happen?
In the way that I consider the Baron, he would not have reached out to the leadership of Tasty Boys Interdimensional, which he kind of had bought into by like forming a regional franchise with a number of places, but obviously the seat being in Hergenbergenstein. Burgerstein. Hergenbergerstein. I don't even remember what it was. Was it Burgerstein?
It was Burger
originally. And I just blew it.
No, I don't remember. It just sort of like, I don't remember who said Hergenbergenstein first, but it was like that. It was literally like 20 minutes, and we were all calling it that. So
yeah.
It's not there's no blame to be laid. It's just one of those things.
Well, Joel, I betrayed your. I mean, really, this is Nate's fucking fault because he wouldn't name it something simple, and like then he passed the buck. Yeah, could have been Chateau von Poundhound. Okay, Nate.
Welcome to Tasty Boys Pound Town.
Next time.
They just walk up and punch you in the face and give you their food.
You have the chance.
Oh, don't act like you don't like it.
It's just a Dick's version of Tasty Boys.
Yeah, everybody loves Pound Town.
So back to the count.
You order at the Give It kiosk, and you pick it up at the Take It kiosk.
Do you want those condiments on the top or the bottom, sir? I'm more of a bottom guy myself.
Why not both?
I switch. So
would you like to power up your
Zero Twitch TOS? Please don't hit us.
Oh God. I honestly don't think at the time that there was some sort of like sinister, I'm going to take over Tasty Boys Interdimensional because I know my daughter is already dead. I think that he approached his partners, said, I need your best people for this. And Tasty Pete and Chef said, these are my best people.
Elijah and Hank are busy, but
yeah, otherwise I'd sent them, but they're doing stuff. And I think that that's just kind of the way that it played out. And to be honest with you, I didn't anticipate the Baron being as big of a big bad as he's ended up being. I think that that's happened because of decisions that have been made or not made along the way. And I just felt like it was most appropriate to ramp him up. And I think that when you guys were in the plane of elemental air and it was kind of dragging. And I think at a certain point, Cletus was like, let's fucking go after the Baron then, you know? Then it was just like, all right, it's on. Like, I got to ramp up the Baron to be, you know, the threat right now. And so for me, what made the most sense was for him to have all of this displaced anger result in him saying, when I needed you, you know, when you needed capital to make Tasty Boys Interdimensional expand, I provided it. And, you know, I asked for your best, and your best not only failed, but then failed to kind of do the honorable thing and come and see. Whether you guys knew that or not doesn't make a difference to him, right? In his mind, that's how you would have handled yourself. And so I think a lot of it is displaced.
Was
And I
there ever a chance that we would have rescued her, or was she always gone before we got there?
In the scenario of because that was a rolled and told, that was another four page end of rolled and told thing that has ended up turning into, you know, the narrative that it is. I didn't anticipate this being this big. I kind of also didn't anticipate. I thought when I originally planned it, we were going to have the grand opening at Extra Life, but then everybody wasn't going to be able to make it, and so things like happened faster than they did because of other decisions made that has to do with a lighter. I didn't anticipate y'all lighting the fucking town on fire.
Well,
You know,
y'all is a bit expensive.
Hey, all for one and one for all, 3 for $1 and 2 for Tuesdays.
The three of us were still in the hole.
But you know, like I didn't anticipate Lom lighting that on fire. There's a lot of things that I can't anticipate as a DM. And I think a lot of the decisions that were made, I mean, I had vastly different ideas about the potential of where all of this was going. I actually didn't. I didn't figure you would leave. You would leave New Kings Bay under such circumstances, but I envisioned that once the New Kings Bay franchise opened, that would be essentially a home base that you could continue to build out, and we would do things more Western Marches style. Because I think that the thing that's been challenging is I think that y'all do really well, and we've talked about this before. When you have some sort of objective, or when we have some different options of adventures we can go on, and there's a beginning and a middle and an end, and Ryan and I have talked about this a lot. But I think that I had hoped we would kind of get to that point, and then there were a lot of things that, in my mind, just it couldn't make sense for those actions to not have consequences, because I think you guys have operated relatively consequence free over the first 70 episodes, outside of, you know, Theodorus almost dying and then reevaluating his life adventuring with the culinary adventure team. But yeah, so I didn't think that losing her would turn into such a large thread, but it was the thread that in the spur of the moment made the most sense to me to kind of draw in, to give a reason for there to be instability as a result of the actions that were taken. And then, yeah, I don't know, that probably plays into the topic of vampires, which was brought up in the chat. So,
well, I mean, I feel like that's more. Oh wait, Lom's got a hand up.
Yeah.
Just a quick thing, because it just popped in my head and I was kind of wondering it for a little bit. How do you run the alignments per se? Because I feel like I should have gone from Mom should have gone from chaotic good to chaotic neutral when the bar burning happened. But that's just me. So, but how do you define alignment changes and things like that?
I mean, I certainly think that there has been shifts in alignment. I think that you guys have certainly played some of your characters much differently. I think that at the beginning, everybody was at least neutral or good, if not a bit chaotic. But I think certainly, um, throughout the course of this, I let some of those slide a bit more than I think probably I should have without consequence. But I also felt like if there's character growth from it, then as long as you guys are playing your characters consistently, I'm not into penalizing people for that. Um, in some ways, Digger became stronger when he stopped being chaotic neutral and started being a little more chaotic evil. Um, and that kind of played into it. Similarly, I think that the transition that Rock has made and that Horatio made kind of back to being a bard, I think that his alignment is a little more true now to what he started out as than what it was when he was kind of skirting that. And I don't think that Lom actually has fundamentally changed alignment, in my opinion. I think that Lom is still the same alignment, or he would have never had the realization that I've done something wrong that's hurt people and could have hurt more people because of my impulsiveness. So to me, I actually think that Lom has remained the most chaotic, good character in some ways because his intentions are good. He just sometimes does dumb shit. And there's no alignment marker for making mistakes. It's not like you're chaotic, good, unstable. So I think that that's part of the chaotic that to me holds true. I think that most of the character alignments have held true. Um, I think that sometimes those come into conflict with your own real life alignments. um, and I think that some of you uh, struggle with that. And I like to think I try to throw some life preservers when I see you guys wrestling with some of those things. But more oftentimes than not, you guys either pull yourselves out of it with your characters, or you've done an amazing job um, to like help tell the story collaboratively. Like I loved all the interaction between Horatio and Digger. Um, I was it maddening to DM at times. Oh yeah, 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 but similarly, some of the interactions between Rock and Lom have been great. I think everything with Kletos and Rock have been great since their plane of elemental air alignment conversation. So yeah, I mean that's kind of my personal opinion. I do think there should be consequences for doing things, and ultimately, I think Digger just kind of paid that in full. Um, as we're talking about, like, what do you do with a 14th level cat? Yeah, we'll find out. I mean, that's exciting. I think that that's an exciting question to ask. Like, if you no longer have essentially an evil patron, like where does that leave you? Like how does your decision making change? I think that that's a cool opportunity for growth as a character and in the relationships that that character has, which I think will affect the whole party. um, yeah, yeah. I don't know, does that make sense? I mean, do people feel the same way? I'm always curious, like with your alignments, whether you feel the alignment you started at or the alignment that you currently have is true to the character, or like does that help you? Do you think about that when you're playing?
I mean, for me, sometimes because I know when I first made Lom, I made him more chaotic, neutral in the beginning because he could go either way, and then as the story progressed and things like that. And we talked about it early on, and you kind of agreed that Lom would starting to become more chaotic good, so we just flip myself over to there. Like it's like he had good intentions. His methodology is is another question in itself. It's just like yeah, no, but it does come into factor because it's like, well, if I start doing this more and more of this and stuff like that, is that really how Lom would react? Because are there times where do I think that some things would just be more fun or be funnier? Yes, but that's not how Lom is. And you have to play to the character and not to yourself, which yeah, but
I don't know. How about other people whose characters have undergone transitions? Do you feel like alignment is a big guidance, or do you feel like there's other aspects of your character that are more important? I'm always curious, like with Horatio, like what the fuck does he think about Torm? Like how does that play into the way you play that as a bard? Because Torm isn't exactly like the most bardy of gods.
No, and he's not necessarily a well. I mean, he's good, but he's not great because
Yeah.
whole vengeance thing.
Yeah, war and chance.
Yeah. So I mean, Horatio's not a huge fan of Torm, but he was able to help him out when he needed that, to get away from the void, even though he's not quite still fully away from the void. But yeah, and I mean, obviously, I haven't gone all the way with Horatio and Torm and taken that paladin or cleric level because I don't know necessarily that Horatio would do that.
That's interesting. How, I mean, why would Horatio not do that, do you think?
Well, so I always try to play Horatio. I mean, he's good, but he's chaotic. I don't know that he would be lawful ever. There's just too much structure for that to work for him.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
That, and I kind of don't like playing lawful good characters either.
You thought it was a great idea at the beginning.
It fit the stats, and probably shouldn't have let that lead me.
Were you min-maxing Nate?
I never did that.
If only that cow had finished the off, this would have been so much easier.
Well, he should have.
He did. I just willed it not to be.
Right.
I don't think that like in Domains of Dread where like your alignment was super prevalent and like it was super like it was made a point of like, hey, your alignment has changed and like now you act differently. I think we just kind of like we just play our characters. I don't think we really, at least I don't like don't really play to my alignment. Granted, like that's just what my alignment is. It just happens to be that way. Like I was just like, how would Digger be? I don't think like, oh, Digger's chaotic evil, so he's got to be chaotic. I'm like, how would Digger be? Like how, I'm like, is that chaotic evil enough? Or like, is that too chaotic neutral? I'm like, what would Digger do?
Like, is that too chaotic neutral is the question you asked, not is that too chaotic evil? That checks out.
But I don't know. Like everybody might think like, oh well, this is how I would decide because my alignment's that way.
Sure.
But for me, it's like this is, I think to start Digger off, that was like a lot of my mindset. Like, okay, he would make these decisions because like this is the way he's aligned. But now it's like, oh, I know Digger, so this is the way Digger would be.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same way. I'm aware of Cletus's alignment, but it usually doesn't. Yeah, I never really have to go to a point where I'm like, I guess if I got hit some really weird thing where I was like, what would he possibly do? And like, I just somehow couldn't figure it out. And I was like, okay, the more chaotic good thing to do here would be this. So sure, but it's more, I mean, it kind of, I think it would be maybe I would feel differently if I played a character where I was playing more against my nature. Like if I was playing like an evil character, I'd probably have to like think about that more. And I'd be like, okay, like how does that work? Like how am I evil? But, like it's, if you're like, it feels to me like if you're neutral or good, like there's shades within that, but like it also feels like you can kind of free range between like at least 5 of those pretty easily. Outside of like the lawful,
Did you say that Kletos is chaotic good?
Yes.
Oh. I've never thought of him as chaotic good.
He is like there when I was looking at alignments, because I just figured he was good, and like that's fine. But then I was like, all right, there's like I should probably figure this out because it says on the character sheet that I need to know. And so I was reading about the different alignments, and I was reading like various interpretations of them, and the one chaotic good was presented in a way that seemed to fit him, which is that like sometimes the law is bad. Sometimes laws aren't good laws. And you have to, and when you're chaotic good, you're like, you have set your own, you kind of set your own rules of what good is. And I feel like that's very Kletos, that he is like, this is, hey, I'm trying to be a good person. I'm doing my best out here. And this is what that is. And that may not jive in a lawful, it probably wouldn't jive in a lawful sense in some ways. And it's not necessarily a sort of neutral good where everyone would kind of understand how that probably works. And so it's more chaotic that way. So it's like, and then that you can see it factor out in decisions like, hey, this small village is being terrorized by a large pack of direwolves. Maybe I'll ride one back to see where they live. Is sort of a, that's sort of how it manifests, but it's mostly in the like, Kletos has Kletos's rules, and that's how he thinks he's good. And so it's chaotic in that way versus a like wacky, unpredictable kind of way. It's predictable because they're his rules and he follows them, but they also change sometimes. So
yeah, that's interesting. I think I've always thought of him as lawful neutral, in that he always seems to have a set of laws that he adheres to, but they're like his own code. And sometimes, it may not always fit into a good sense. Sometimes he's doing something because he believes like in the way that he should address it, it needs to be done this way. Yeah, it's always interesting to think about how players view their characters, and when that kind of doesn't line up, like what do I see as a DM that makes me think of their character differently than they're thinking about their character? Because I think that ideally, we're all kind of in lockstep, but I think that sometimes my preconceptions of the character and the person might overlap a little too much.
Yeah. Well, I think that makes sense too, because I think that, you can see looking lawful neutral. And I think when you're talking about like any of the sort of chaotic side, that's inclined to look different to different people. And, depending on who it is, that would interpret it differently. So yeah, I think that makes total sense.
Yeah.
He's a good boy. I'm trying.
Yeah. Loves his mama.
Doesn't know his mama.
Yeah. And he'd love her though. Other I mean, are there other things in the last 15 episodes or in basically the departure from the Tasty Boy Isles in My King's Bay that you guys have questions for me about? Because I feel like there's been a bit of tumult over the last 30 episodes that also, um, I've played some of it closer to the vest than other pieces, and some of that's because I'm interacting with you guys, not publicly either as gods or patrons or other entities. Vampires came up. The future of Tasty Boys Interdimensional, which I think is kind of like the big whiz bang finish. And then the other question I have that I'd love to talk about after you all have been satiated is when does the adventure end? I'm always
Never.
curious about that.
Never. I have a question. Can you promise us that everything since episode 82 hasn't just been Rock's wet ass pork chop fever dream?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I can guarantee that.
But he's not gonna wait. Like 116 is Rock wakes up and he's like, "Wow, that was a hell of a pork chop."
That was a wet ass pork chop.
Yo,
Yo, we should go save that girl.
We should go save that
girl. I can't process that. Don't you even start with me, Warrior. Don't even. I know. I can't even handle. No.
Guys, old Chicago really cleaned up well the third time. Another Hydra. No. And Rock's just like, third time's the charm. Wasn't here for the first two. Watch how I do it. Chop, chop, no fire.
Okay, so many heads.
We can't ever go back to old Chicago. Georgia has put up so many wards and glyphs against the Tasty Boys ever possibly returning there. She hates us so bad.
Oh no!
Right, yeah.
She hates us. Old Chicago probably hates us too. It's just
Well, that could be because you punched their monarch in the dick.
That's true.
Maybe.
Blew up one of their squares.
You punched GDX right in the dagger.
Yeah, stole his dagger. No big
deal. If it is all a pork chop dream, bad news. Everybody loses 2-3 levels.
Or maybe you gain them in your sleep.
Or maybe you do, and we've all been doing other stuff while you were sleeping.
So we saved the Baron's daughter. He's become just an amazing patron of Tasty Boys Interdimensional.
We've just bing Weekend at Bernie's seeing you around.
Showing Lon just dragging his body
and then we
around
finally get the "it's been 3 years" payoff.
Oh, we do. Oh man, yeah. Well, then in that case, I promise nothing.
Damn it! Why'd you put this idea in his head?
Promises.
Digger's an archwizard is great. We're all level 20.
Tom's a school teacher now. He's highly educated. Horatio now is the leader of a church somewhere.
I'm level 21 somehow. Laugh energy, man. I don't even know.
Life does find a way.
I've considered the kind of end game and what happens, and whether, rather than kind of playing on in, kind of for an infinite amount of time, whether we explore other parts of the same world, either by continuing on as secondary characters. I've thought about something that Nate and I encountered on Twitter, the idea of alternate for futures or pasts, basically like going and playing some what if scenarios, like what if Theodorus had died, and there was another non-Horatio person that joined. Where would we be? Would we actually have ended up as the Tasty Boys, and playing out some arcs like that for fun?
Theo died, you never would have met Cletos.
No lies.
It's a bad time.
Yeah. Elijah would have happened a lot sooner.
That's true.
But yeah, I've been thinking about that because I will freely admit that it becomes more and more of a challenge to ramp somebody up to a level that you guys can, be challenged by. I think the Baron, I'd be curious if in that fight with the Baron you felt peril or if you felt like it was more a matter of time.
It was a weird fight. It's a really hard thing to gauge on a neutral level. Like the way it started was weird. The kind of everyone would it felt like for like half the fight we weren't really sure we were fighting, and then he was like, I'm gonna disintegrate Digger, and we were like, oh shit, we're like really fighting for real. And then we kind of like sort of amped things up a little bit. I think that it would be, I don't know, it would be interesting. I think that any time that you have like 5 high level characters against one character, and that character's like not like Vecna or something, it's hard. It's hard for it to be like super challenging. I mean, we saw how that can be perilous because yeah, he could cast disintegrate and do enough damage to disintegrate somebody. That would be
literally 1 point.
Yeah, like that's like, oh shit, but and that was kind of an interesting thing about that fight, was that sort of like, oh shit, we're like fighting because it's like it's sort of that weird like place with the Baron where it's like, well, okay, like this is all sort of a big misunderstanding, and like maybe we can, but then also you've been trying to kill us for like 40 episodes, so like that's annoying. And so like maybe we're
you
not.
guys are so forgiving to this guy. I have tried so hard to make this guy into a credible threat that, misunderstanding or no, it's clear that he wants you guys to suffer and die. And you guys are like, well, maybe we just try talking to him one more time. I don't know.
mean,
Maybe
like he really
the guy
has
who's been a month for
idea
5
about
days
us.
will get it figured out.
He's got it. He's really got the wrong idea about us. And
Yeah,
we didn't even know his address.
Yeah.
The letter got returned, and it was in Supernal anyway, so he probably wouldn't have been able to read it.
Yeah. And another thing, like I think this works really well with the Boyz, and how you say we're forgiving at times. I think for most of us, like because we now after the last episode know a little bit more, especially about Cletus's backstory, my own backstory. I've been since day one, Rock, Horatio, Digger. We all are kind of been like, we're not the greatest people like ever, so we kind of get it, you know what I mean? It's just like we're not the bad guys, but it's like we get it, like
I
we're
thought
like,
you were
hey,
gonna Roman Reigns that shit, Dan, and I was about to punch you through the
no,
computer.
no, I'm not, no, I'm not gonna go there, no. But no, we're not the bad guys, but we've been there, and we just want to be like,
the
hey,
good
yo, like
boys.
we get it, like,
We're not
and
the
we just
bad
probably want to try to
boys.
talk it out, and
Yeah. No,
I
that's
think
fair.
that's just what we do because
Well,
we all understand it a little bit more.
Well, and I think like a lot of it is like, and I think, I mean, kind of like harkening back to what we were talking about earlier, is sort of like a platform to grow upon, like working as a team and stuff, like with all the vestiges of like, what the fuck is even going on? Like, it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna take up an amount of psychic damage every episode for like 75 episodes. Like that's just a thing that's going to happen, and it's unclear why this is happening or where it's coming from or how to do anything about it. Like it kind of seems like it's this, but who knows, And so like, when it sort of starts with the like murder attempt, it's like, what is even that? Like, did he do that? Is there something else to worry about? Like, what is going on? So like, just the vibe of the fight was weird, but I think that, I don't know, it's a tough one. I think that with, I don't think we would not defeat him, but he could put a lot of hurt.
I mean, you guys came close. I think that he came close to acing a couple of you, and you guys came close to. I mean, there was basically a threshold that if you guys got him down below, that he was going to, like, run, and you hit it.
Yeah.
I mean, you did over 300 damage.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, and it's sort of like, you know, yeah, I mean, you look at choices and like, you know, and it's also like that interesting thing of like, you know, we also had an extra body. We were down Alam, but up in Elijah. That Elijah didn't have Sunbeam, as which was unfortunate because he had playing shift that day instead. So it was fortunate for the Baron, but you know, I mean, it's kind of that like, it's that I don't know. Yeah, it was a weird fight. It definitely started feeling very real, and he seems challenging. He's dangerous, you know, and you don't know who or what will be on his side. If he's behind, if he's willing to, if he hates vampires and he's willing to, and he hates us enough to hire things that he hates because he hates us more than the things he hates, then, you know, there's no way of knowing what might be at his side next time.
Fair.
I think with Rock, at least, it's the forgiveness part is kind of like, as Rock is trying to get a grip of his own anger issues, being able to recognize that and be kind of empathetic with the Baron, of like, oh, I can see what this is doing. Are you aware of what's this? This is really unhealthy for both of us. Maybe we can find another way through it. I think if Rock didn't go down that path, it would be I don't think there would be like a let's talk about it. It would just be, you're the bad guy, we're the good guys. Fight.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, I think that the Baron is some parts Captain Ahab, some parts Doctor Doom, some parts, I don't know. It's a interesting mix in having to kind of build somebody up who I thought was going to be more of the kind of mid-tier bad guy, to ramp him up to be, I think, a credible threat for you guys. And I think it's interesting because I think it allowed me to think about potential connections to some of the larger story drops and background pieces that you guys have looked at. But it also, I think, in this new setting that we've dove into, I think allows for some of these things like, you know, the shards and, you know, the kind of proving ground, as it were, to open up new opportunities for different members of the party to, you know, act differently, or hopefully for the party to come together after fashion to, you know, have a different identity. And I guess that brings me back to that question of that you guys brought up about the kind of future of Tasty Boys interdimensional. Like, does it work? Like, are you guys always going to be dysfunctional as the Tasty Boys, and you should be 2.5 monks? You know, like, is the identity of Tasty Boys interdimensional at this point something that is the thing that we all shout, you know, every podcast because it's fun for a little call and response? Or is it, you know, this kind of bygone relic of this thing that might have been, but you've gone down a different road as a group and as individuals?
I mean, I think it's sort of a multifaceted question because, like, the reason I asked it was less from the meta perspective and more from that Tasty Pete was like, yeah, I'm kind of this isn't fun for me anymore. Maybe I don't want to be a restaurateur, and so there's like a larger, does it even exist, and to what degree is that even in the capable hands of the boys, and which, I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of made it a meta question because some of the other questions that have been asked, but I mean, I think that that's a legitimate question as well, as whether Tasty Boys Interdimensional remains a thing that Tasty Pete and Chef and whatnot are doing, or whether they just be like, all right, like we're out. This is not our life's mission anymore. Or do you think that they double down, or certain members double down?
I feel like even if they did that and they just disbanded, one, I don't know that we would be notified. And two, I would almost expect that the Tasty Boys would continue kind of doing what we do through the world, really thinking that we're all still gainfully employed.
Still putting all the treasure in the bag.
I mean, or we just return as the bloody hands of God. That old long ass name.
No, don't do
I pretty much agree.
Nope.
I think that you are the righteous bloody hands of God to begin with.
Oh, the righteous bloody hands of God.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
God.
was even more obtuse than Tasty Boys. Hey, I asked for a name and everybody said one word, and that's how we ended up with it.
Well, yeah, because we couldn't think of anything. We're all staring at each other, and you were just saying, everyone say a word. And you pointed at Orin, and he said, the.
That's how we ended up with von Harrigan Burgerstein instead of something simple like Pound Town, Nate.
Instead of Pound Town. Trying to get the Pound Town on the map, literally, since
Or
episode
just
46.
Minnesota town like we did in the beginning. Like half the cities were references to Minnesota at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think that, like, I like the idea on a meta level of the sort of like West Marches, sort of here's it worked for a little while when we were sort of like seeking new property or whatever, and like that was like a good, I don't know, that was a good tone, that was like a good vibe. I liked that. It's sort of a weird spot. We've kind of got this, we've sort of got this barren issue, but then like beyond the barren issue, we don't have like there isn't like a pressing, urgent mission or statement of purpose or storyline, beyond
survival,
being employed in this way. And well, and honestly, like, I mean, if we get rid of the Baron, then we won't even have to worry about surviving really strong, right? Like,
I don't know, because I think that you guys talk about it like that, like it's kind of like, oh, we'll just finish with the Baron and then like things will go back to normal. But it's like you had vampires after you. You had everybody that was in New King's Bay that was pissed off at you, and I actually thought that this was going to be like Band on the Run, and that you guys were going to be like, oh, the stakes are really high. But the way that we always talk about it is this kind of like, well, I mean, like once we deal with the Baron, we're done. And it's like it's so Tasty Boys that it's just kind of like, oh, just like very matter factual, like, oh, we kill the Baron, things go back to normal, or like we have some sort of thing. And it's always, I don't know, I thought it felt higher stakes when you guys lost New King's Bay.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't. I don't know if it came off flippantly. I didn't mean it flippantly. What I mean is that like it felt very high stakes. It was a really like exciting stretch of episodes, and it felt very high stakes. It also based on revelations that have come since we managed to stop running for a while. That it's it's I think reasonable for some of the boys, or even as like as a player, to think that like, well, a lot of that is to a degree worked itself out. Like the people we burned a bar down, they burned our lighthouse down. These vampires weren't, they were hired by the Baron, apparently, or some of them were, or there's some element of that, so is that still an issue? Also, like, you don't have to go back to New Kings Bay. We can move to Pound Town.
It's true.
So I mean, like New Kings Bay was a home base, but there isn't a home base there anymore.
I mean, and I guess that's what I'm curious about. I mean, I kind of drug you into this new locale, but I mean, do you guys want to be there, or would you rather just, as the Tasty Boys, be like, if this isn't going to be the Tasty Boys anymore, and we can't go back to New Kings Bay, and this asshole, hates us, why don't we just go somewhere else? I mean, and that's maybe what I'm curious about, is kind of like the question of when does the adventure end is kind of a meta question about like, when do we say this chapter of this game is closed and we're going to open a new chapter? But it's also the kind of mini meta question of like, do you guys even want to be doing this? Is this the kind of adventure that the five of you as players enjoy, or is this me making something up to move the story along because it doesn't feel like the last 5-10 episodes have been as engaging as all of the episodes in New Kings Bay once we kind of found our groove, and then even the kind of flight had a certain amount of risk for it. But I think that looking at the last 10 episodes or so, I don't think that they've been, I don't think that you guys as a group have been as engaged as you were in previous arcs. And so I'm curious, like, does the current direction make sense or excite you guys as players and as people? Or, I mean, we don't have to like hard reboot by picking new characters. I mean, we could hard reboot by doing something besides me sucking you into this mystical forest. And I'm always curious about that, because there's some decision making that I kind of make without consulting you guys, and I'm flattered that you put your faith in me to help you move this story along when it needs to be moved along. But I also realize that some of those decisions I'm making based on incomplete information, because we're not really a cohesive team. So we very rarely, I would say, have a direction that I can sense that there's consensus about, if that makes sense.
I would just chalk all that up to, like, regardless of what anybody rolled on their character sheet, the Tasty Boys are essentially a group of idiots who pretty much, I think the one thing that we do really well as a team, and we are always on the same page with, is pretty universal bad decision making.
I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, like with a lot of that stuff, it's like, do you not understand the repercussions of all these things? No, I don't think they do. I think we get out of a situation and are like, oh, well, that's behind us.
I think the problem is I find you all terribly clever. So when your characters aren't terribly clever, I'm like, oh fuck, what did I do? Like what has not been explained or shared about this? And sometimes I realize that it's you guys acting in character, and sometimes I realize it's me not providing enough context. And other times I've kind of come to realize the same thing, that like tasty boys gonna tasty boys.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of dummies, and and they do dumb stuff. And when the repercussions have happened, the response I think from all of us has been like, "Whoa, this is really out of the blue. Why are you so upset?" And I think it's just who these characters are, that they'd be like, "Wait, you mean things are connected?" Like even Kletos, who is all about the connection of life energy, I think misses over the timeline the interconnectedness of, we did this back here and now it's an issue here. Like even Kletos, who I think is the most sensible of the characters, still has plenty of moments that are like, that came out of nowhere. I don't, why are all these evil crabs popping up? Like I I just think it's the group is not that self-aware.
I think that's a piece of it. I think that there's also a lot of secrets, and that makes it challenging to navigate. Like certain things make sense to certain players because they know the secret, and there's largely no context given beyond. Without that, there's not a lot of context for why something would happen. Like it seems like it's a lot. It's like okay, yeah, we burned the bar down. I get why this angry mob with fireballs is here. Then it's like, wow, the vampires seem excessive. It's like, you know, and without knowing, because at the time you don't, like, maybe, like, who, because there's like, who even is the Baron? Like, why would anyone think he's this sort of like powerful Machiavellian like mastermind? It's like, who's hired a dark army and is doing a bunch of stuff to us. That's hard to know. But I mean, I agree, we're dumb. But like, but
That is to say.
But there's a lot of like, it's to say that there's also a lot of moving parts. So like, I think sometimes it feels like Beard is frustrated because we're not picking up on something, and some of that is character, intentional ignorance, and then, and sometimes it's like, wait, what? Like, really? Like, or something's happening that only one or two of us know about, and then if those characters, whoever they might be in the moment, aren't talking, because if aren't talking to us, or literally aren't there, or both, then it's like it amps up the difficulty level in a different way than perhaps intended, I think, sometimes.
Sure. Are there too many moving parts?
No.
Would you rather have more pieces floating or fewer pieces floating? I'm always curious. I don't think we've ever really kind of talked in a meta fashion about how I DM for you guys, or like how much crap I throw out in the ether. And I'm not saying this like I need you to stroke my ego or I need you to tear me down. I'm just curious, like for the five of you as players, sometimes I think that we do better when I'm running a module than when I'm more kind of, I don't know, free improving along with you.
Yeah, but we derail that module within 15 minutes.
Yeah, but I think that sometimes it's good for you guys to have a place to start that's more concrete. rather than me kind of floating different options out there. When there's a bit more direction for a start, I think that there's a potential end in sight, even if it's not the end that I or ends that I anticipate.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
many of these modules, 2 to 3 pages, end up being 20 to 30 episodes, which is not anticipated, but very welcome.
Yeah. I feel like we work better in modules versus a sandbox. I feel like we really languish in a sandbox typically. Like, the sort of like 101 through 112 is, or 7 or 8. Like, it was like 6 episodes of like fucking around an airship, and it was like, because it's just like, because there isn't sort of a clear overarching narrative or pursuit or mission or goal, partly because that's we haven't established one, partly because where we are situationally as characters is that we've literally just been running for our lives, and now we're sort of we've been on the defensive, so that to a degree needs to be established or reestablished. Like, it when without those sort of like anchor points or story points to like jump off of, outside of like fun intra-character things like the monk stuff, or the stuff that was going on with the boy, and those kinds of things, like it makes the sandbox difficult. It ends up being often, a lot like shopping episodes, and then it's like 4 shopping episodes because like we don't, like, I don't know, like, and
Everybody loves a shopping episode.
and so, but I think the cool thing about modules, and I think along Tasty Boy's history, you see it, is that they do often go longer than anticipated, partially because, I think for several reasons. I think partially because it's X number of pages and it may have a suggested thing, but like if our episodes are like an hour 20, like that's not a session. Like, I think like when if it says like session, it's probably thinking like 3 or 4 hours. So, but like I think, and there's a certain amount of derailing, but like, I mean, I think that's within realm. But I think what happens when you tell a story modularly, you have a clear thing to work toward as individuals and as a group, and then how that story ends up being told ends up informing the future, and it can open up paths to different things, and like just as players can become inspired by a story or doing something or an interaction or a conversation, i think the DM can too, and things can grow out of that. And I can't think of examples right off the top of my head, but like stuff like that happens. I mean, like the Way of Life thing grew out of little bits and pieces that were cobbled together over the course of many episodes, and I think that's the cool thing about D&D is like you may be telling someone else's story module, but you're writing your own story. Your characters are in the story, and that story can grow and change based on what you do there. And when you're in a position where you're sort of lacking a strong arc, or maybe, like it's not like Critical Role where like, well, this is kind of the story that has been set out to be told, and it may go a lot of different ways, but like this is the beginning point, this is probably the end point, in some way, and there's like an arc to get there. It's good when you to have those things when there isn't something super compelling to do in the meantime. So, I think like, when we were doing the villa and we were doing the Crab Cove and stuff like that, it was great because we had something to work toward. We knew what we were trying to do, and stuff grew out of that. And then I think it's very easy to, when something is born out of that, to switch gears and go do that for a while. It doesn't have to be okay, well, we did this module and then this module comes after that. But in the playing through Vandelver is a great example of that, right? You've played through it a few times, or every time we do the Thunderlock bar crawl, it's crazy different because it's different people and different
Except
characters.
for falling in the pit. Someone always
Except for falling in the pit. You have to fall in the pit. Have you really run the Thunderlock bar crawl if you don't fall in the pit? But I mean,
when you guys all fell in the pit that one time, that brought me such great joy.
But I mean, I think so I mean, I think, from the conversations that we've been having, it sounds like we're at a point where it's it's a sensible place to do a finisher because we've hit a very specific hey, here's a sort of restart of some degree, right? In with Digger's situation, in where we are, wherever that is, in various other things, and we have the luxury of being able to work from that. But I think for me personally, that's kind of West Marches / modular kind of stuff is great, because we always have stuff to do. It can take us to new places. It can do whatever. But for me, I think it's good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, I actually like both. And I like that we kind of skip back and forth because I do think the nice thing about modules is that you always, like what Ryan is saying, you always have a path. And no matter how much you meander back and forth, there's still this very clear path that you're traveling down, which is kind of nice. But when we're not in module, tends to be the times when we see bigger chunks of character growth, which is its own rewarding aspect of this game. I think if you were shooting for the ideal, it would be somewhere between those two extremes of having that more focused objective with the room to have moments like monk training, like Lam getting introspective about whether or not he should be an arsonist.
Digger deciding whether he should murder people.
Yeah, because those moments have all been pretty terrific, and some of my favorites of what we play have been not during a module, but the kind of concrete, this is your path to go on, it's got this many of side quests.
I mean, you guys haven't been in a module probably since you cleared out the Crab Cove. FYI, literally all of the last probably 30 episodes.
The Onion Cave was the last one.
Or Onion Cave, yeah.
But it's it's all been great, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's an either or proposition. I think both lend very specific positives to what this game allows you to do.
But do you think that that's a certain aspect, like Ryan said, of having a home base? That you don't have to constantly be choosing to go do a module. You can have kind of character growth, but do you think that some of that has to do with having a home rather than being nomads? I'm just curious. I mean, and that's not just for you, Joel. I'm just curious, when we got to the point where we were in New Kings Bay, I think people settled in and felt more comfortable developing characters or interacting with the town, or being on a side quest or something.
I mean, there always is that and stuff like that, but kind of going back to the beginning of your questioning here and working towards that is, I don't think you've ever given us too much to work with. Sure, it seems like there's a lot going at times, but I've seen people who've talked about our game on Twitter or have messaged me about it have said like this game just seems more akin to real life because it's raining outside, you got a flat tire, and your check engine light is on, and you're an hour late for work, and it's just one thing after another, and after that because that's just how real life works. And guess what? We burnt down a bar. The mob came after us. Oh, this other group of people that are already pissed at us were coming after us at the same time. This all happened. You know what I mean? It's just one thing after another. Like I kind of like it because it's so much realistic, more real. Because it's just like, hey, the Tasty Boys have pissed off a lot of people, and
That's
coincidences
a true
happen.
story.
But it just happens. But it's just like yeah, we sometimes do better in a module, but I feel like I don't know. It's like saying what are we better in? It's saying like yeah, we are better in more of a module. Like I'm a big gamer and stuff like that, so my brain just goes more like this. Like we do better in more of a traditional kind of linear sandbox, kind of like a Star Wars Lego game or something like that, versus us being dropped into Skyrim and just could be going everywhere, have all the options. We can do it. It takes us a little bit longer, but when you drop us into more linear like Lego style game, and it's just like cool, we're gonna screw with all your blocks here and see what ticks and see what things we can kick over and see what we can move.
Yeah,
Just because it's a little more fun at times. But it doesn't mean Skyrim isn't fun.
yeah,
Absolutely. But it's just I don't know, it's just how we play and also a little bit of it I'm getting maybe it's just me, but like the whole world where it's with the way things have been the past year and like we used us using that time during the middle of the week to go and meet up and play, what I mean, especially some of us who had to work all week or something like that, and this would be like one of the few times we'd be able to go out without having to do like chores or anything like that. I felt like that was a good thing for us, but then this all happened and it's just I feel like now the fatigue of that is just coming in and stuff like that, and
mhm,
maybe it's just us going through the motions a little bit because of of the last year,
yeah,
but I still think we're all still having fun with the game, no matter what. And it's just like we just have a little bit different attitude for it because Zoom, this, that, and the other thing. It's just the
yeah,
past year. That
yeah,
also has to play a part in this as well. So
yeah. I can't wait to rub Nate's sweet, sweet beard in person. You
Gotta
know,
bring back
like
beardtouch.com.
beardtouch.com. So good. Well, we're reaching the 2.5 hour range, which I think is uh, pretty awesome. It's been really cool to chop all this up. Um, I do think it's a really good opportunity for some kind of fresh start and breathing room with everything. And, you know, Digger won't have my voice in his head all the time. So he can just pay attention to the rest of you guys.
he's still not going to. You know
No.
this. He's
Probably
still
not,
gonna
but
be
that's
off of
okay.
La La Land.
Like, who is
Probably
this
gonna find
fucking
some
underscore guy, and why won't he stop messaging me?
Jesus. Fucking God. Come
Wait,
on.
is this the void? Hey, is this fucking Torm? Who the hell is this? That was my favorite. Is like I'm messaging him and he's like, "Wait, is this the fucking void?" I was like, "Yes, it's the void, Digger."
I'm like, I don't know.
Void is in all caps.
The void's like, if I had feelings, they'd be hurt.
Yeah.
You hurt my one feeling.
But instead, it's just an absence of feeling,
And it's rage.
sadness. Um, any parting shots? Last questions for me. Anything that's been bugging you? Speak now or forever hold your peace until the next finisher.
Where are we?
You
What are
are.
we?
We're
Where
gonna
are
find
we?
out next time on a very nice. Just kidding. You are in a forest
Thanks.
that is not the Feywild.
Oh.
but definitely has deep magic.
Feywild
And
adjacent.
Question: Was Lom ever told the name of the forest?
he was not.
Okay.
No, you were teleported there because
So they
that's
just dropped
where.
me and said good luck.
Yeah, basically, you have your kind of magic divining rod, as it were. Tracking your father, and that's the kind of general area that your auntie was able to track.
Much to that.
Cool.
Cool.
Yanti again?
Yeah, the Yanti.
Dude,
they're back.
we didn't.
Snake people.
We should have dealt with
They're
it the
coming for
first
you.
time, guys.
Yeah,
Great.
She
Awesome.
kidnapped me again.
Yeah,
Where
now-
were you?
I'm now less
It was destroyed.
able to handle this. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I just figure at some point a man in tights swings through the trees and yells, "Welcome to Sherwood." And we'll be like, oh.
This makes more sense now. Everyone
Welcome,
check your pockets.
welcome to the Forest von Hergenberg.
No! You got
Just some sprite's gonna come out and be like, "Welcome to Pound Town, bitch," and walk away.
Comes in with like the 5 o'clock shadow and a big stogie hanging up his lipstick. Welcome to Pound Town Forest. Dig a doom tree, we've been waiting for you.
That's the most on-brand thing there is. Yeah, this checks out.
So it's a setting that has a lot of different modules we can get into. It's really expansive, as you saw from the map that I shared previously, and I think that there's a lot of new new things to discover. So I think that this could be a place that we're in for a couple episodes, or it could be a place that we spend a lot of time, because I think it's a really fascinating. It's I'll say this: it's the setting that you guys would have entered into if you would have gone through the forest near Forest Lake Town. I had prepared a bunch of these modules previously when you guys were much lower level, as one of the alternates to going to Salt Marsh, essentially. So it would have been Acquisitions Inc. in the deep forest rather than Acquisitions Inc. By the beach with death crabs.
I think you should.
Not to say there aren't going to be death crabs in this forest. No promises.
I think you should embrace that it's us. So your statement of it could be 2 episodes or it could be longer, you should just already accept that it will be longer.
Yeah, by 2 episodes I mean like 10 or 50.
Yeah.
Or not.
Hey, for all you know,
maybe
we could just.
You guys could do some crazy bullshit and end up teleported somewhere else.
Episode 116, The Search for Pound Town.
Could happen.
I mean,
you guys would just be like, you know what? Kratos is like, you're never gonna believe what I found in the forest. Pound Town.
We are in the forest. We could just start our own Tasty Boys paper factory while we're here. You know what I mean? And just have another 200 episodes based off us making a paper factory.
You guys don't find Digger. He's just out in the forest wandering for 20 episodes. We guys start a paper company.
Man, I'm just trying to find my class.
He's stuck in a tree. Come on.
I feel like
there's no fire department here.
And I don't have a class to get myself down.
Mom's like, fire department?
Cat.
I've got just the thing. We got to burn down all the trees until we find Digger, you guys.
I mean, I don't have my lighter currently. Our friendly neighborhood Minotaur had taken it from me, or I've given it to him at this point, I believe.
You did give it to me.
You relinquished.
I still have it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? That was a good question.
I feel like Kletos is firmly anti-deforestation.
I would probably agree. Yeah.
It's like I share life with like 700 of these trees.
I've been bonded to everyone I touch.
It's just like
you're like Monk going through like the character, like Tony Shalhoub, like You're riding your dire wolf. Attune, 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 attune. I have to attune to every single one.
That's a lot of dice rolls.
That's a true story. Any other questions? Things that you want me to spill the beans on? All right. Beans shall be retained until we come back in 2 weeks and
find some magic beans.
Find some magic beans hiding in the wolves' den. So yeah, we'll be back May 5th with brand new episodes with all 5 of the boys, taping episodes 116 and 117. So check out Known World United here on Twitch for more D&D games featuring some of our players. You can follow me at Huey Beard Walks, or follow dnddt.com for your podcast every Tasty Tuesday, or follow us on Twitter at DNDDT Podcast. Boys, where can I find you?
All right, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Cubicle Zombie. And then next Monday and every other Monday, right here on this channel for some Down and Outlands.
Who sits on the throne?
We'll find out.
Better find out. It's gonna be like that scene in Jurassic Park where the lawyer is in the outhouse. Sorry, Jurassic Park spoilers.
Hey, spoilers from 1993 again.
You never know. Warrior, you can find me at WarriorMN on the socials.
You can
and in
find
the
me,
Forest von Hergenberg.
You can find me in Pound Town, at or invite on everything, in the trees in Pound Town, twitch.tv/orinvite18 for random shenanigans. I'll come up with the schedule eventually. We'll get there. But yeah, otherwise you can find me here. Always. You can always find me here.
Daniel?
You can find me most places at Ref Dan Fitz is my ad between Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, which has become my most used social media at this point. And if things go right,
They will not. Oh no! If things go right,
That's the best thing ever.
that was beautiful. Joel?
Well, unlike Dan, you cannot find me doing TikTok dance routines. Yep. But you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, under @fingertwitchings, and you can check out the occasional artwork.
And our resident artist with all the beautiful art here on our overlay. Also, Joel, you are at Joel A. Vollmer on Twitter, not Finger Twitchings. I tried.
Really?
Yeah. It's been a lie all this time. You've been lying to the people.
I mean,
that's why you have Joel A. Vollmer underneath your picture instead of Finger Twitchings.
I am definitely Finger Twitchings on Instagram.
Instagram, yeah. And on Twitch. But on Twitter, you're still Joel A. Vollmer.
It's true.
I thought I had changed it.
Well,
apparently
no time like the present. Hey, by the time you watch this, if you ain't watching it live, he's at Finger Twitchings on Twitter.
It'll at least be done by the end of tonight.
Hey-o. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, May 5th. Looking forward to a brand new chapter in the ongoing story of D&DDT with the one and only Tasty Boys.
Tasty
Boys. Interdimensional.
Or are they? That was dumb.